Welcome to the Hyper-Fixation Station. I'm your host, Lolifu, and I'd like to welcome Mike to the show. Today, they're going to tell us about their OC, Kara. So take it away, Mike.
Thanks for having me. So, my OC is named Kara. She is a Norse trickster, goddess of mischief and mayhem and all that fun stuff. So the way she came about being a character was I say a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long. So 2018, I started getting more back into RPing and doing RPG kind of games and stuff like that. I was RPing with a guy who realistically wasn't very imaginative. So we got stuck on a certain... Yeah. So we got stuck on a certain area of where we were RPing, and the main villain, who was the sister of one of the protagonists that we were RPing as, was trying to destroy little sister's business. And so the question became, how do we progress that story along? Like, do we have Big Sister come down with her minions and disrupt things? Does she do the stereotypical villainous thing and hire outside help? And that's how things come to be. And he couldn't come up with a decision, and I just said, we're going to go the stereotypical thing, and I'm just going to make a quote unquote villain to progress the story along. And so in the span of realistically maybe 3 or 4 minutes, I came up with the basic construct of what is Kara.
Cool.
Yeah. So I literally went on Google and typed in Norse women names, and one of the top 3 was Kara. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the one we're going with. And then I'm like, I'm just going to base her off of stuff I like. So silver hair, red eyes, leather jackets, ripped jeans, kind of like skate punk, biker vibes. And that's who this villain, quote unquote, is going to be. And so that's where she originally started from.
Oh, you have her birthday already. Awesome.
Right. And then in true trickster fashion, she caused mayhem. She set up like rotating machine gun turrets to distract the protagonists, turned the whole garage into a 1970s cheesy game show set to have to have the main guy try to figure out who hired her. And then she also was never really a villain. She was a hired gun, but she only took the job because she thought it sounded like something fun to do for a Tuesday.
Sweet.
Thanks. And from there on, she became much more than that. Like, there was random instances still RPing with the same person, but she kept popping up in different scenarios where she, for whatever reason, would just fit. Like a true trickster, she just kept popping up. She was like a bad itch that wouldn't go away. And from there, I just figured, yeah, there has to be more to this woman than what I originally planned for her. She was originally going to be a throwaway character. Like, she was going to be a one session, maybe 2, and then done, and never show up again. But like I said, that never actually happened. She just kept showing up. And from then on, I'm like, okay, so there's something here to this. And she seems more special. So maybe I should really knuckle down and put effort into this. Mm-hmm. So I did. So for the last, I'm not good at math.
I hate math too.
Yeah. So I don't know, 7. For the last 7 years, 2018 to 2025, I had to do that in my head. I figured it out.
Good job.
Yay me. So for the last 7 years, I really knuckled down and developed her character and her personality and gave her a real backstory and I still kept the same basic design, but added a few things. She never really changed a whole lot with her looks. It was still the silver hair with the red eyes. I added a scar over her left eye for being battle damaged, and wears more van style skater shoes now instead of the original biker boots that I originally put on her. So her official, where she came from was originally that RP, but her official backstory that's canon is that she started off as a baby, abandoned in the woods of. I am really terrible with trying to pronounce any European names. I'll be honest with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I can't in a forest in Europe where the Norse pantheon lives, and I cannot pronounce the forest name to save my life. But little baby Kara was abandoned on a stump. Her cries grew to a supersonic level that it
Dude.
attracted a patrol of Valkyries to come down and pick up the baby, and her mother, who would be her adopted mother, Freda, however you pronounce it,
Yeah.
looked at the baby, picked her up, comforted her, and then took her back to Asgard / Valhalla, whatever you want to call it.
Over the
And
Rainbow Bridge. Oh,
yeah,
I know enough Norse mythology that it's just because of the movie Thor. I know it's
right.
called the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, over the frost bridge and all that fun stuff, and presented the baby to Odin, and Odin, seeing that for whatever reason this infant child had a lot of power and a lot of potential, decided that she should be raised amongst the Norse gods and taught the ways of their fighting styles, magics, powers, so on and so forth. So her early childhood, this is still redhead Kara. So her early childhood, she learned sword fighting from her mother and various gods of Norse mythology. She learned a bit of lightning control from Thor. She learned a little bit of uh, other abilities from other gods that I'm blanking on names, except for Thor and Loki for some odd reason.
So when she was born, she had red hair, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just like that redhead just came out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
Yeah, when she was born originally, she was a redhead, and her hair resembled like a crimson red, which matched her eyes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it turned. We'll get into how it
Yeah,
turns
yeah,
silver
we'll get
later
there.
on.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So she progressed extremely fast through the ranks. She outshone a lot of different gods. She actually learned how to be more of a trickster by lurking in the shadows and copying Loki's moves without him actually knowing.
Or maybe he knew and was listening. Oh, this will be fun.
Right, and maybe he thought there would be some kind of way that he would, prank her or something. But she ended up being way more powerful than him and
Oh boy.
really adapted to trickster abilities faster than any other deity. And then so right around, I'd say probably what we would consider her mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
She decides that she wants to go see the world and see what else it has to offer, and see if there's anything else that she can pick up on with enhancing her abilities. Because her being Norse / Viking, there's always the room to want to grow and become stronger, and it's just ingrained in their DNA.
Cool, cool.
So she goes out and ventures out into the world. This is probably somewhere around the 13 to 1400s. She meets other gods of other pantheons and religions.
Mm-hmm.
She studies under the Egyptians. She learns about the monks in like Nepal and learns meditation and channeling her abilities into other facets of what she can do. She learns about the more Asian cultures coming from Nepal. She ends up in China and Japan. She sorts of hits. I cannot talk today. She sort of hits it off with Sun Wukong. Not really. For some odd reason, she doesn't really like a whole lot of other tricksters. She'll
Mm-hmm.
tolerate most of them, but doesn't really have a friendly personality with them, if so to speak.
They're like rivals.
Yeah. She sees them more as a rival and somebody that needs to be taken down a peg when they annoy her.
Yeah.
But from there, she ends up leaving China after she's basically learned what she thinks all she can learn. That's where she learned some new illusion magic from Sun Wukong. She also learned a very ancient form of what would be known as Shaolin Kung Fu today, but it had a much different name thousands of years ago, and it started with an X, and I can't remember what it's called. I had it written down somewhere. It's somewhere in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
But she learned basically the original form of what it will be Shaolin Kung Fu today.
Cool.
Moves from China into Japan in a forest which would be known as the Suicide Forest today, but originally it wasn't. In the forest, she actually comes across the goddess Inari, who is
Goddess
the
of
fox goddess. Huh?
I'm sorry. I was like, oh yeah, because I read a book about Inari, and it's like the fire god. Sorry.
Yeah, she's the fox goddess of Japan.
Sweet.
Yes, she ends up coming across her, who was bathing in a stream. And Karo is just kind of fascinated by the idea that she had 9 tails, 2 fox ears, obviously pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and could sense that there was some kind of like kindred spirit there. So, while Inari's bathing, Kara just kind of does a cannonball inside the stream.
Funny.
Yeah, and then that's how the two of them meet. And Inari, who's not really 100% sure what just happened, sits there kind of dumbfounded, and Kara's just like, pops out of the water, spits a little stream of water, smiling like an idiot, like, "Hi, I'm Kara. What's up with you?"
Oh my god.
And she's like, "Well, up until 30 seconds ago, I was having a relaxing bath." And she's like, "Yeah, I could see that. And I figured you might need a little help with that." So the two of them hit it off, and they end up becoming really fast friends. She ends up getting introduced to Japanese food. She gets introduced to Amaterasu and the other Japanese deities that live in. Again, blanking on these names, but like it starts with a T, Taika or
There's
something
like
like that.
I just this year I listened to an audiobook that listed all the names. Let's see, there's uh Amaterasu, Inari, and then the mountain god and the
Yeah,
storm god, and now I can't remember them either.
I just can't remember where they all live. I know it's that big golden palace thing in the sky, and that's where Amaterasu, the sun goddess, actually lives. And I can't think of what that place is called. Anyways, but she gets introduced to them. She becomes friends with Sujin, who is the water goddess of Japan. Who Sujin kind of just is a friend, but not really a close friend. But if you asked Kara, they were like inseparable. And if you ask Sujin, she's just like, "Yeah, she's a friend of mine, but I only take her in small doses." And Kara's over here like, "She's my best friend ever. She loves it when I pop up out of nowhere and bug her and mess with her waters and stuff." And you can just see Sujin in the background scowling.
I found a list of the Japanese gods. There's Susanoo and Izanagi and Izanami.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a several more, but like and then I noticed Sujin below. Sometimes I think people switch their genders, but whatever.
Well, in my world, Sujin is a woman, but in real life, she's a guy.
Yeah, the picture showed a dude, so I'm like, okay.
Which is kind of odd because which is odd because there's 2 different depictions that I've seen of Sujin. I've seen the ones where he's a guy. I've also seen the ones where he's a woman. So I don't know what mythology follows what. I don't know if he changed genders or can shapeshift. I would assume being water, he could probably shapeshift, so that would make sense.
Yeah, in the book that I read, Inari was a dude, so yeah.
That's weird because in I was about to say, because when I went to Japan, the shrine is for the goddess Inari.
Okay then, well I guess it was just the author's preference, I guess.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's dedicated to the actual goddess Inari, and the depictions all show her as a woman.
Okay then.
Interestingly enough, I guess the author was like, "I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, just because I can."
Yeah. Sometimes they just do that, Sometimes
Yeah,
they
I mean
gender bend.
that's the whole reason why Sujin in my world is a woman, just because I thought it made more sense to me. But what do I know?
Yeah. Okay, so Sujin.
Yeah, and that's how that works with that. She's ended up becoming friends. She doesn't have a whole lot of friends at this point. The only people that she really considers herself friends with are Inari and Sujin and her mom, and that's pretty much it. It's a very, very small circle. But that's okay. She just does what she wants when she wants, because that's who she is. And she doesn't feel like at the time that she needs a whole lot of friends. But, things change. So from there, we get in, and this is all while she's in her mid-20s, just kind of exploring the world, because, like I said originally, she just wanted to learn more about other things and see if there was any other abilities that she could pick up on, which she actually was able to do so. She was able to learn more illusion magic from Inari. She also learned more elemental control from Sujin, and Amaterasu reluctantly showed her more of a cosmic side of godly powers, with her being the sun goddess, and that fascinated Kara. It's like, so how could I apply that to what I can currently do? Or is there anything I could do to enhance or is there anything I could learn new that I could add to my arsenal? So she goes and she learns under all of these different deities, sunbathing on an island somewhere in the Caribbean. She gets a call from her mother saying that a war is on the horizon and that all gods need to report back to their original pantheons to see what the issue is. So Kara unfortunately packs up her stuff and puts on the traditional Viking armor that she actually wears before she moves on to the black leather jacket and everything else. Yeah, that's more of her modern look. Her original look is more like this crazy Viking armor, which I've got pictures of that I could show people. But the best way I could describe it is like her hair is in a ponytail. She's got these fur shoulder pads, for lack of a better word. She's got the greaves. There's this leather cross, X pattern that goes down her stomach, and a leather tunic, and pants and gauntlets and all sorts of things. It's a lot easier to show than it is to describe.
I could probably put that in the podcast. I could maybe I'll draw it again. I already did some art of her for the thumbnail, and I could probably just put a little bit of her wearing her Viking outfit. Just give me the description, and I'm obviously gonna edit this part out. So
no worries. So in traditional garb, she stands before the, lack of a better word, tribunal of gods. So just about every faction is there. You have the Egyptian gods. You have in my world, the Roman and the Greeks are two separate entities. They're not the same. They have the same names, but they're not the same person.
Different like entities.
Right. So you have the Greeks with Zeus and Athena and all of them, and then you have the Romans who still have deities that are like the Greeks and still keep the names like Mars and Mercury and all of them, but they're two separate entities. They're not the same thing. Yes. So they still have the same similar powers, like Apollo and Mercury are still the speed gods. Mars and Ares are still the gods of war. So on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting down, trying to talk things out. This meeting was originally called by Zeus, and Zeus currently is unhappy with the state of affairs between gods and worshippers. Who Kara, sitting in the back amongst the other gods of her rank at the time, could care less about the politics that are associated with gods to begin with. So she's already over in the corner tuning everybody out, and just like, I don't remember exactly what she was doing, but she was doing something kind of stupid, like making little fireballs or figuring out how fireworks work with her fingertips, because she learned that in China. So she's in the background just literally not paying attention. Her mother looking at her and eventually scolds her for not paying attention. And Zeus is still talking to the other gods and saying that, there should be a more centralized version of the deities, that they should all be under one umbrella, so we don't have to continuously fight over worshippers, and that way that they don't need to squabble. And the whole reasoning why is because it seemed like in this universe, more and more worshippers were leaving the Greek and Roman pantheons to pursue other deities. And, with certain new nations popping up, that also meant that there were new gods that were forming. And as those new gods came in, new followers started following them, leaving the old ways. And so Zeus is like, what we need is a way to either team up, or there has to be at least, we either team up or there's going to be one god standing.
Mm-hmm.
Which basically means Zeus was saying either we join forces, or I'm going to destroy anything and everything and make sure I'm the only one standing on the mountain when everything's done.
Dang.
Yeah, so he essentially declares war without fully saying it, but the point became clear.
Mm-hmm.
And Odin and Ra and Amaterasu all came up with the same conclusion, that that's not how this should go. We don't need to spill blood over worshippers. We just need to find a way to appeal to the new people and have them come back, because, gods don't always stay with the one single thing that they were originally born with. Like I think originally Athena was just the goddess of wisdom, but then she also became partially the goddess of fertility and a couple of other things along other titles. So they were just saying, why don't we just learn to adapt and get new titles that would attract more followers? And Zeus was like, no, this is my plan. It's either my way or the highway. At typical Zeus.
Yeah, typical Zeus. I was literally thinking that.
And so they do not reach an agreement, and at all. And Zeus decides that for whatever reason he was able to convince the Romans, I guess maybe because they're both very similar, to convince the Romans to join his side, and basically said, if you are not going to help us, stay out of the way. Otherwise, I can't be responsible for what happens at the end of the day. Which, upon hearing that, Odin and the rest of the higher-ups were not happy about that and started putting to it, and they already knew what was going on, so they start preparing for war whenever the first shot actually gets fired. Kara, not really giving a crap about any of this, still not really full, and maybe she doesn't fully grasp what's going on, or again, just completely nonchalant, because why should she care? It's not really going to affect her, she doesn't think.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to her travels, ends up in what would be modern day Cuba, but back then I have no idea what it used to be called.
Neither do I.
But she's in what would be eventually Cuba, looking at sugarcane plants and trying to see if there's anything she can do with these to make more interesting sweets that would interest her palate. When she gets another call from her mom saying that war has officially broken out, that Hercules had actually struck and had struck down, or didn't strike down, but he had attacked one of the other Japanese deities. Whatever the guy's name is for the god of wisdom in Japan, I can't think of his name.
I have no idea either.
But Hercules had essentially assaulted him and beaten him almost to a pulp, and that's what sparks the war that breaks out in what would be known as the Great War of the Gods. So Odin's allegiance is with Amaterasu, and Egypt, not actually being attacked, has decided to keep to themselves. And if they're basically like Sweden, if we have to get involved, we'll get involved, but we're not really in this.
Yeah.
So at this point in the time, the Romans and the Greeks are teamed up with themselves to fight against the Norse, the Japanese, and the Chinese gods at this point in time. Kara gets sent to the battlefield and basically has a free reign to do whatever she wants that would help win the war.
Ooh.
So, and this is before she learns about like Toon Force and any kind of fifth dimensional powers that we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But for right now, what she can do is illusion magic. She can use different elemental magic from what she's learned from other gods and goddesses. So she's on the battlefield, just laying waste to just about anybody that steps up to her, because she's so wild and unpredictable that even Loki has no idea how, if they ever fought, how he would win. And from there, lot of battle. The battles rage on. Gods are dropping left and right. All of the heavens is just about soaked in blood. There's so many that have fallen because of this stupidity over the idea that, oh, we couldn't just adapt. We had to do Zeus's way or the highway.
The dumb wars between the gods is like, oh, really?
Exactly. So when they fight, they've come up with the two names for the factions. You had the Mythos faction, which was the Japanese, the Chinese, and the Norse, and to some lesser degree other gods and goddesses from other pantheons that were just trying to lend support or help. And then you had the Almighties, which was because of course.
Yeah.
And that's Zeus and the Greeks and the Romans and all of them, which, yeah, they actually had quite a few gods than I wasn't aware of when I did the research. I'm like, wow, they actually have a lot more legions than I thought. But okay, let's keep going.
Dang, yeah.
Right at the height of the fighting, when how in like different wars, there's like a pinnacle battles that change and shift how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this battle was. This was the fight over. This was the one battle that I never came up with a name for, and maybe I don't know. I never really came up with a title, unfortunately. But essentially, this is the battle where Kara's now mortal enemy makes her move to try to gain power from these skirmishes.
Mm-hmm.
So Tiamat, in ancient Mesopotamian gods and goddesses folklore, is a chaos goddess / the mother of dragons, which that's quite the interesting titles.
Yeah.
She is the one who originally sided with the Mythos faction and saw, and like any other trickster, saw an opportunity that it would benefit her.
Mm-hmm.
So she signed on with the Mythos, fought alongside them for a long time, and then saw that at one point in time that Zeus and the Greeks were actually starting to win, and eventually switched sides, but still worked as a double agent for the Mythos faction.
Oh.
So she was completely feeding them information on tactics and spots where they're going to be at, setting up ambushes.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it gets worse. So one specific battle, Kara and her mother and some other Valkyries and Japanese like foot soldier type gods were trying to cross this river and make it to this camp on the other side to link up and plan the next day's assault on I think it was Hercules's like summer home or something that they decided to use on that the Greeks and the Romans had decided to use as a supply base. That was the plan. They never made it to the summer home.
Uh-oh.
So what happened was Tiamat fed all the information to fed all the information, all the plans, where they were moving to, and all that, and fed that all to the Greeks and the Romans. Zeus sends Hercules with his legion of soldiers to basically ambush them.
No.
Yeah, again, it gets worse before it gets better. So they get ambushed. completely taken by surprise. Kara and her mother are currently fighting Hercules by themselves.
Dang.
Hercules strikes Kara with his sword, makes that slash down her face. Surprisingly, doesn't kill the eye, just superficial, and that's
Dang.
where the scar comes from on her left eye. But as she got knocked back by that sword, her mother comes in to try to defend her,
Mm-hmm.
and Hercules, well, being one of the gods, one of the highest gods in Greek mythology, had no issues taking her out.
Dang. Oh man. Now she's gonna hate him.
Oh, it gets way better than that.
Oh.
So, sorry, bad allergy day. My bad.
You're fine. I'll cut it out.
So Kara then watches as Hercules runs her mother through with his sword, and unceremoniously kicks her off of his sword, and then goes on to attack the other people.
Oh man. Oof.
Yeah. Kara then watches all of this happen. First off, shocked at the time, and holds her mom in her arms and holds her mom in her arms and watches the light fade out of her eyes.
Oh man, that is so painful.
Yeah, it's the gut-wrenching moment that Kara finally realizes that this actually now affects her. Originally, it was just what she thought was something sporty and kind of fun. Like it's different when the war comes home. And she finally put two and two together. She watches as Hercules moves on to fight the other guys, and something just wells up inside of her, and it builds and it builds and it builds, and it's just this raw rage and power. And her hair from the trauma, she's crying through all of this. There's tears streaming down. Her teeth are grit. The trauma of losing her mom, the one person that she actually had any kind of love or connection to, that was the breaking point. And eventually the trauma was so intense of losing her mom that her hair goes from the crimson red into the soul silver that we know it is today.
Dang.
She unleashes all of that rage and all of that welt up power, and just one massive explosion that annihilates everything within a 500-mile radius.
Holy crap.
And then Hercules, surprisingly the last person standing that was able to survive that blast, gets to experience the full rage of Kara's grief. Her abilities and her speed are unparalleled. She was able to, like, Hercules trying his best. He's swinging his sword around as wildly as he can. Kara's over here not even giving anything, just blocking every single strike, and eventually takes his own sword and cuts his head off.
Oh.
Cuts his head off with it, and then in like Mortal Kombat fashion, then crushes his head with the rest of her with her bare hands, and then just kind of washes, like
Dusts her hands off.
Yeah, dusts her hands off. And she's still not satisfied with the way that ends. She figures in her rage, the only thing that makes sense to her is, I have to be the one to put an end to all of this. Otherwise, this is going to keep going. So in her fit of rage, and just calmly and kind of like having the personality of a madman laughing at the rain, starts a one-woman rampage to destroy anything and everything to do with the Greek gods and the Roman gods.
Oh, dang.
She starts single-handedly destroying any and all supply bases, any kind of bunkers, or any other things that could possibly help them out. They're all annihilated in one night.
Dang.
She then turns her attention to the people that started all this, Zeus and them, she she eventually forces them to retreat to Olympus, the last stronghold that they have.
Mm-hmm.
She makes it to Olympus, climbs the mountain, and unceremoniously kicks down the golden gates and just starts rampaging through Olympus and killing every single god and goddess in sight.
Dang.
There's nobody that can stop her. She's just too powerful. Why? We don't really know 100% why, and maybe it has to do with where she came from originally, because we know that she was adopted,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't really know where she came from before that.
So it's mysterious origins.
Yeah, but her powers are unparalleled. Nobody is able to stop her. She eventually gets to Zeus's throne, and Zeus is over here shooting lightning bolts like it's going out of style, and she's deflecting every single one like a minor mosquito bite. She eventually goes in and doesn't even say anything, just unceremoniously rips out Zeus's heart and crushes it in her hand while it was still beating.
Dang.
and then kicks him off of his throne and sits there for a minute, just kind of going through what she actually just did.
Now, in this universe, when gods are immortal, like they can die, but then they come back to life after a spell, right? Or are they dead in this world?
In this world, I kind of, and I'll be honest, I kind of ripped this off of Supernatural.
It's okay.
But in this world, I did believe in what Supernatural did with like other gods and demons and deities in their universe, where when they die, if they die in hell or if they die in heaven, then they get sent to the void.
Oh, okay.
So I did kind of slightly rip that off from them, but like to me, it made sense because they had to go somewhere. They can't just unceremoniously go away. That energy doesn't just sit there waiting for somebody to claim it. It has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So she sent them
to the shadow realm.
Essentially, yes. So she sent them all there, and with that, she ended the war in a day and a half.
Awesome.
After it had been which is ironic because it had been raging for at least a couple centuries to that point.
Cool. That's epic.
Yeah, and then she approaches Odin, who welcomes her like the war hero she is, and she just he puts a hand on her shoulder, congratulating her, and she just brushes it off like, I'm done with this. I have no reason to be with any of you people. I don't need worshipers. I don't need a temple. I don't need any of the godly crap. I'm Kara, and I do what I want when I want. And she says, do not ever call on me again. If you do, I will make sure you regret it.
Oh, dang.
And with that, she just leaves Asgard and the rest of it behind. She's still friends with the people that she's friends with, and she'll still visit them and say hi and everything. But her rising through the ranks and being one of the top gods, that was never a goal for her, and she does not care.
Yeah.
However, we still have to deal with the fact of Tiamat being the one that actually set things in motion and is the one who, in a lot of ways, is the one that directly killed her mother.
Yeah.
So for a while, she's just going through life, doing her own thing, not really caring about a whole lot of stuff. She, through different magics and that she learned through different gods and goddesses, starts getting more into the idea of starts seeing more of the world change. We start getting more into the modern era, starts learning about stuff like cartoons through some weird portals and manipulation and a lot of trial and error with dimension hopping. She eventually figures out how to get to the Toon World, essentially, and learns from the great cartoons how to use and what exactly is Toon Force.
It's like the power that Wile E. Coyote uses to paint the railroads, to paint the tunnels, and the Roadrunner goes right through them.
Exactly. The stuff that like Bugs Bunny can do when he moves the shotgun around and then it blasts Elmer Fudd in the face, even though the barrel's pointed at him.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Learns about those abilities from the great cartoons of the era, and absolutely loves everything about it because it fits so well with her personality, with how she likes to make puns and jokes and pranks and all sorts of stuff anyway. So this is right up her alley. She was able to latch onto it real fast. And from then on, and then from there, she's like, this is, so if I can learn stuff from here, what other dimensions exist and where else can I go to learn new things? So,
the internet.
I mean, yeah, the internet, when it finally spawns into stuff, will definitely help out with a lot of that. But as of right now, she has no idea what the internet is. But she does know that these cartoons and comic books and things are starting to gain momentum.
So she's like when Bugs Bunny first came out. That was like
1933.
Oh wow, yeah. So that's the time frame she's in, like, currently. Okay.
Yeah, and with her dimension hopping, time is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So in her era, it was like in her era when she finally left the pantheons and all of that, it was like what would be the 1600s our time.
Dang.
When she left them. But with her, like I said, with her dimension hopping, none of that matters. She eventually learns how to do Toon Force. She eventually finds a way to make it to the Marvel and DC universes.
Oh, dang.
Which she ended up coming across a random encounter in Metropolis watching Superman fight Mr. Metzeplek. And she was more fascinated by Mr. Metzeplex's abilities than she ever was with Superman. She did not have an interest in the Boy Scout of DC. But thought the interesting thing about this guy being able to reality warp and do anything he absolutely wanted was something that she would really like to learn how to do. Through a lot more trial and error, we're talking like decades of different failed experiments, eventually finds out how to get to the fifth dimension.
Ooh.
Which is where Mr. Metzeplex lives,
Ooh.
where reality and physics and all this other stuff just does not apply. It's literally do what you want when you want.
Cool.
And she eventually makes it to this weird town that's all like rainbow-hued colors, and the diner is in the sky, and the skyscrapers are underground, and all this weird junk. She ends up finding Mr. Metzeplex making milkshakes at the diner, and she's like, "Hey, I finally found you!" And he's like, "I don't know who you are."
She's like, "How do you know me?"
Yeah. He's like, I don't know you, but apparently you know me, so what do you want? And she basically lays it out for him. Like, I saw you fight Superman. I thought what you were doing was hilarious. Is there anything I could do to make you want to teach me how to do that stuff? And he's like, well, you know what? I can appreciate that somebody saw the value in my art. You know what? I'll take you up on that. If you really think you can hang with the big boys, I'll teach you.
Sweet.
And so from there, she learns how to use her fifth dimensional abilities and powers. And at that point, she's just OP as anything else. With all of her trickster abilities, with all the elemental magic she learned in the last few thousand years, with Toon Force and fifth dimension, there's hardly anybody across DC, Marvel, gods, goddesses, anime, let's be honest, that can really stand up to her. The hardest hitters across all boards would have a really, really hard time trying to take her down.
She'd kick One Punch Man's butt.
She really would, and then she'd laugh about it. In fact, she probably would figure out a really fun way to take him down. You know, having him be distracted by a sale on beef that was only going to last for 30 seconds.
And that's how she wins.
Or something like that, yeah. So once she's back in her realm, she's back. She eventually goes back to her realm. Time's moved forward. It's modern. It's back in now the modern era. Because Tiamat was never caught for her crimes. New issues have arisen, however you want to pronounce that.
Yeah.
And there is now a force of, or special forces, if you want to call them that, of humans calling themselves the God Killers. And she is not really worried about them because at this point she's like, what are these idiots really going to do? She doesn't really pay them any heed. She also, because of all of her abilities, gained the ability to understand that she's actually a character, and she absolutely knows it and does not care. She can see, she like Deadpool and other characters can see beyond the fourth wall, but that awareness was always going to be inevitable with her powers and her abilities growing over time. It was only a matter of time before she realized that there were things beyond the screen. And she's fine with it, and she makes jokes about that stuff all the time through her fights. Like, she actually knows plot lines and plot twists before they happen, but still goes along with it anyway because it seems like fun.
Cool.
So modern day, modern era, the God Killers have finally caught on that Kara is back, and now they're actively pursuing her because the leader of the God Killers is Tiamat in disguise. She looks like a normal human, but Tiamat is the one that's funding these people, giving them all the techniques they need to kill gods and goddesses.
Oh no.
And because she believed in Zeus's idea, she just didn't believe in Zeus being the one true god.
Yeah.
Again, Kara, though, does not care. Never wanted to worship her, never cared to be an actual goddess, still has that title, still absolutely loves throwing it in people's faces, but doesn't care about having temples and all that. So the way that it starts off is like they're actively pursuing her. Every time they try to get close, she disappears or just kind of swats them off like annoying flies and then just goes about her day. One of the more fun adventures is she's currently flying through space, sitting on an asteroid, and the God Killers are pursuing her in their giant battleship, firing lasers, machine guns, and missiles. And Kara just kind of stands up. This is her in the modern era, so she's actually wearing her black leather jacket, the specific shirt that has the colorful language on it.
Yes.
The ripped up jeans, the Vans shoes, and she's got her arms folded, got this smug grin on her face, watching all the little bullets and missiles fly by her. And she just sits there and flips them off with both hands. They fire another missile. She dodges it. It barely misses her face by a half an inch, and then she does this like face where she like raises an eyebrow and has this face like, really? You thought that was going to work? So she jumps in. So she jumps off the asteroid, teleports, and then ends up on the bridge of the ship where the captain and most of the crew are. And she's actually dressed up like Mr. Spock.
Oh my god.
And she brings out this little little device, and she goes, there seems to be no intelligent life anywhere. And then they're a little dumbfounded, and then eventually the captain's like, open fire!
Because they don't know who Spock is, right? Or no, they're humans, right? They should know, right? They would know.
Yeah, they know who that is, but they're just kind of dumbfounded at the fact of, where did this come from? Obviously, this has to be who we were fighting. Shoot. So they start firing at her, and she turns back to normal, and she just kind of like turns to the camera and shrugs and is like, well, I guess people can't just take a joke. And then she decides to go and just start running through and bashing people's heads in the most comical ways that she can possibly think of. She has a spring-loaded boxing glove that she's starting laying people out with. She's got a rubber chicken with a brick at the end of it and just starts smacking people with it.
And it makes a chicken noise every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She eventually gets like the boxing glove and the chicken shot out of her hands, and she's like, well, that's not very nice. And then reaches a hand into her jacket and pulls out a yo-yo and just starts swinging and then just starts doing random yo-yo tricks and just starts whacking people with it as she rolls by.
Awesome.
Yeah. Eventually she kills them all in the most comical way possible. The captain like tries to reach for the button at the last second to alert the rest of the ship that they have an intruder. She whacks him with the yo-yo again and then just walks on by playing with the yo-yo like nothing happened. She eventually makes it down to the to the engine bay, takes the yo-yo, just playing with it like any normal kid would play with it, looks at the engines and then whacks the engines a few times with the yo-yo, causing them to overload and go critical. She jumps off the ship back to the asteroid, and you can see the whole thing blowing up behind her as she makes it back to Earth.
Sweet.
Yeah, and that's how she jumps. Yeah, and then she just jumps off the asteroid and down into the atmosphere, and then just kind of superhero pose lands in the middle of Times Square, and everybody's just kind of looking at her, and she's just brushing herself off like, whatever, it's Tuesday. And then she just walks down the street like nothing happened, and everybody's standing there staring and taking pictures and videos, and she's just walking down the street, hands in her jacket pockets.
Nonchalantly.
Yeah, nonchalantly. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah. She eventually would go and visit her friends, Sujin and Inari, seeing how they've been doing since she's been away for so long, which Inari greets her with a hug and excited to see her, and Kara and fills her in on what she's been up to as they sit around Inari's temple drinking tea. And eventually she asks, how's Sujin been? And she's like, well, she's doing okay too. Doesn't really come around very often, as much as she used to in the old days, but she's still around. And last I talked to her, which was like 200-300 years ago, she said she was still doing okay, so I guess she is. They're like, that's cool. And so, Kara's just doing Kara things, and she starts talking about how she just laid out some idiots who thought that they could take her. And she's like, are you? And then Inari's like, are you talking about the God Killers? And she's like, yeah, those morons. They really thought that they could hang with the best. And she's like, they're actually becoming a very viable threat. And she's like, what are you talking about? Those idiots? How? She's like, well, I've been hearing rumors that there have been other gods and goddesses that have been disappearing as of late. And it's very possible that the God Killers, or GK, are responsible. And Kara kind of just looks at her like, are you sure we're talking about the same group? Because the people I just fought couldn't have found their way out of a wet paper bag if you gave them a map. And she's like, no, seriously, they're disappearing left and right. And she's like, okay, I believe you, but I also don't believe you. And eventually Kara just leaves, parts ways with her, and Inari tells her, don't be a stranger. And then Kara goes, you know me, who's stranger than that? And then Kara just goes off and does her own thing. Eventually Kara would meet the goddess of time named Astra.
Cool.
Astra is ironically redhead, blue eyes, has her own time staff, and this has the time staff scepter, whatever you want to call it. She lives in this world where she lives in this realm where around her it's like a nebula, and there's a simple throne, and then there's a checkerboard floor, and then there's 3 rooms to the left. And Astra is the one that makes sure that time and order flow correctly in Kara's universe. And Kara, of course, being who she is the one disruption in all of Astra's perfect order. Which Kara with her experiments and dimension hopping accidentally along the way actually met Astra in her dimension, and immediately, and Astra was kind of cold. She's cold, calculating, doesn't have a sense of humor at all. So she's very, very business and to the point. And so Kara ends up meeting her, and Astra sits there like, who are you and why are you here? She's like, I'm Kara. I actually don't know why I'm here. And she's like, that's great. Now leave. And she's like, oh, but I just got here. Why not just hang out? It's not very often I meet new people I don't know about. And Asha says something to the effect of, I'm not trying to meet new people. I'm just trying to do what I do. And Kara's like, ooh, and what is it that you do? And then Asha tells her, I am the goddess of time. I sit here and I make sure that events flow as they're supposed to. I look after the hourglass and make sure things stay perfectly neat. And Kara's like, that is fascinating. does that ever get boring to you?
Oh.
Astra's like, I do not understand that concept. And Kara goes, clearly. And then Kara, for whatever reason, is the only goddess person that has ever found Astra. And once she figured out where Astra lived, decided that she must need a lot more Kara in her life.
Oh no.
So Astra has tried her best to keep Kara out of her domain because everything about Kara is everything Astra is not.
Mm-hmm.
But Kara has decided that Astra is going to be her new best friend, whether she likes it or not. So Astra, once again, ends up being one of those people that tolerate Kara, but would much rather have not known that you exist at all. So Kara visits Astra, who is in her relic room where Astra has taken things out of time that could cause issues with the timelines or certain events or certain worlds. And Astra is currently just documenting things and making sure things are okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Kara just pops up right behind her and tries to scare the living crap out of her. But Astra's like, I knew you were coming. Why you always pull this same prank? It never works. I don't know. And Kara's like, it's going to work eventually. Eventually it will. And it's like, Astra's like, I know all of time. I know the past, present, and future. And I can tell you that you've tried this 30 million times and never once am I ever startled by the fact that you're here. And Kara's like, well, then 30 million and one will have to be the charm. You are insufferable, but you love me. What do you want? Oh, I just came here to say hi to my best buddy because I think she was missing me. You would be incorrect. Oh, don't be such a sourpuss. Why can't you just enjoy my company? I don't enjoy anybody's company. You know this. Anyways, and then Kara's like, so what are you doing? She's like, I'm documenting the relics and making sure that everything on these shelves are where they need to be.
Uh-oh.
And so Kara is just like, ooh. And what do all these things do? They vary from world-ending possibilities to making people's hair platinum blonde. Why do you care? Because it sounds like something fun I could play with. And she's like, yeah, and she just, sits there, bugs Astra while she's documenting things, picking random things up and playing with them, and Astra just frantically trying to take things away and put them back on the shelf and just so aggravated. Yeah, aggravated and frustrated and just sighing. And she's like, you're just like a child. And she's like, I'm not just a child. I'm not like a child. I am a child.
Oh my god.
I do what I want. Look at me go. And then eventually they move out of the room. And Kara watches and follows her. And Astra just sits on her throne, exhausted, rubbing her temples. Because Kara's still there.
She's still there.
Yep. And she's like, what? Did you actually have a reason to show up? Or are you just here to annoy me like every single day? And Kara's like, no, I actually came with a purpose. What do you know about the God Killers?
Ooh.
She's like, you mean that weird faction that just sprang up out of nowhere almost overnight? Yeah. Well, I don't really know a whole lot about them. I just know that they're going around killing gods and goddesses for what seems like no apparent reason, but it's written in the book and on the and in the hourglass that it has to happen, so there's no real reason for me to get involved. And she's like, huh, and that's all you know about it? She's like, yeah, that's essentially all I really know about it. All right, well, if you know any more, please don't hesitate to ask. And we're still on for tea on Friday, right? I never agreed to that. You just did. No, I didn't. All right, I'll see you Friday at 3. I didn't. And then she just disappears before Astra can finish her sentence.
I'm like, maybe she had one of those objects in her pockets and it falls on the ground.
Right. It wouldn't put it past her to take something out of the relic room, and maybe she'll figure that out later. But from then on, she goes around and just the God Killers. New goal is to stop Kara. That is their main mission. Originally, it was just to hunt down the remaining factions and whoever was left over from the war.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Kara's back, Francesca, aka Tiamat, has put an APB out and said that Kara's head needs to be delivered to her feet within the week.
Oh, dang.
Which if we recall, Kara is the only person that really stands not stands a chance. She's the only one that would really put a thorn into her side. Because Kara's abilities, and to this point, Tiamat doesn't even know that she's got new abilities, but she remembers what Kara did prior in the war, and that's enough to be like, she's a threat and she needs to be taken out. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this fight. So she sends out an APB, wants Kara's head at the end of the week. She doesn't care how, just get it done. And so every god killer across the globe and into certain factions of like certain space bases, because I couldn't think of anything more clever than space base.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah. Focus all of their attention, resources, and anything else they have on taking Kara out, which Kara is not amused by any of this. It was funny at first, but now they're just annoying.
Yeah.
Because now it's just wave after wave after wave, and they're not doing anything to really prevent her from doing anything. But she's also annoyed by the fact, like, for example, she was in Paris, France, enjoying a little macchiato at a cafe outside the Eiffel Tower and was sitting there contemplating whether or not the Eiffel Tower needed a new coat of paint and what she should paint it for them. And then they show the couple of God Killer soldiers come down the street, all ready for action. They open fire. Kara goes to try to take a sip of her macchiato. One of the bullets, like, goes through her coffee, making her spill it. And she's like, hey, I want to drink that. And then she starts, and then she's like, fine, you guys really want to throw down? I'll throw down. This is for you, coffee. And she snaps her fingers, takes all the God Killer, makes the God Killer weapons sentient, gives them little legs.
Oh my god.
And has the guns chase after the soldiers, shooting them all as they try to retreat.
Oh my god.
And then she's like, well, now I need a new cup of coffee, and I'm going to have to go get another one. There's another $2 down the drain. grabs a cup of coffee, sits back down as you can hear the screams of soldiers dying in the streets. And she's like, takes a sip and goes, this is nice. And then she's like, all right, so back to the task at hand. Eiffel Tower. Are we going bubblegum pink? Are we thinking deep purple? Eventually, she decides on purple with pink polka dots. And then just leaves. And then just makes the French government flabbergasted by the fact that the Eiffel Tower is no longer black painted. Yeah, she eventually leaves out of Europe again. She ends up meeting a couple of American gods and ends up kind of being acquaintances with them, and eventually it would lead to more of a friendship, but that happens much later on. But she meets Amelia and Sophia, and Sophia, there you go. Sophie for short. Sophie is the American goddess of speed, and Amelia is the American goddess of war.
Oh, cool. Is that like real life canon? Or is that just in your universe?
In my universe, that's who they are. I know that there is an American god of war, and I know there's an American god of speed, but I could not tell you what their names are at the moment.
Are they like Native American in origin?
I would think probably. I know one of them was. I think Speed was.
Cool.
Yeah.
A lot of you had to do a lot of research on all the different gods. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God, yes. You have, yeah, I've researched this inside and out 5 ways to Sunday. It's been crazy, but cool.
Yeah.
But still crazy.
Yeah.
So they're both American gods. Amelia is, what was Amelia? So Amelia has got blue hair, blue eyes, dresses like a World War II bomber pilot.
Dang.
And her weapon of choice is one of the rifles that helped World War II, the legendary M1 Garand. And that's one of her. That's her weapon of choice. That's her god weapon, if you quote unquote want to call it that. And then her little sister Sophia, who is the American goddess of speed, is not as old as her big sister. In my mythology, Amelia started first with the first shot being fired in Boston, and that's where Amelia was born.
Oh, cool.
as the American goddess of war, and fighting obviously for the American side and helping out American troops and GIs as much as she possibly can as the American god of war. And then Sophia shows up 1905. 1903, somewhere between 1903 and 1905, Sophia is born, and she's the American god of speed, born from the American, not dream, American. What am I thinking of? What's the word? Desire to race and to go faster.
Oh, cool.
So Amelia is like is Sophia's big sister. So Sophie is the American god of speed. The first in time Kara encounters the two of them is in a junkyard in Fresno, California in 1955.
Cool.
And so Kara is just looking around the junkyard trying to see if there's anything in the junkyard worth bringing to life just for giggles. And Sophia and Amelia are sitting on a pile of junk, kind of looking down at her. Kara knows that they're there, but she doesn't pay them any attention. And then eventually Sophie goes to introduce herself after Kara decides, you know what, I don't really need to bring anything to life, but it would be kind of fun to have a hot rod, I think. So she just snaps her fingers and makes a 32 Ford hot rod in like 30 seconds. And Sophie just kind of hops off the pile, not even caring who Kara is, because she just immediately infatuated with what she built. She's like, this thing is so cool. I've been seeing these on the streets, and you just made one in 30 seconds. Oh my, I love this. And she's like, yeah, it really was no effort. Who are you? Oh, sorry, apologies. I'm Sophie. I'm the American god of speed. Let's get back to your car. What? I'm sorry, you said American god of speed? I thought America didn't have any gods. And then Amelia chimes in from behind her. That's where you'd be wrong, because we actually do exist. She's like, well, I learned something new today. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah. So they eventually become acquaintances, and eventually they become friends. By the time Kara goes to visit Anari, she's already back to being friends with, she's already long-term friends with Sophie and Amelia, and still taking out god killers left and right, just because if she doesn't, they're just going to continuously keep coming, and it's kind of annoying. And then eventually she gets an inkling that through one of the fights with somebody that was a slight bit tougher, she's noticing that these guys are starting to get harder. Yeah, stronger, harder to fight, and it doesn't make any sense to her. So she starts doing a little bit more research into the issue, and what she finds out, and what she kind of always secretly suspected, makes her blood boil.
Oh no!
Because what she figured out was that they're getting a lot of help, divine help, that these guys don't even know about, which is ironic because their whole mission in life is to destroy gods, and they're actually being led by a goddess.
Oh my god!
So she eventually will figure out that the god killers are led by the person that is solely responsible for why her mother is no longer around.
Dang.
That the leader, Francesca, of the god killers is really Tiamat in disguise and has been hunting down gods and goddesses so she could reign supreme.
Oh, dang.
Which is why currently the Egyptian gods are completely gone.
Dang.
The god killers eventually got god killers eventually got all of Egypt, even though Egypt wasn't involved, but that doesn't align with Tiamat's ideals. So she had all of them killed. She got half of China wiped out. Was currently working on the Norse when Kara re-entered the scene, and then had all of the efforts and everything pointed at her. So eventually there was a lot more fights. She fought more with the god killers. The god killers regroup, get stronger, find more mystical items that can help with fighting against gods.
I suppose Tiamat is like giving them to them, right?
Right, yeah. Tiamat's the one supplying them and finding them because she's the only one realistically that would know where these things were.
Yeah.
But like with that kind of stuff, we're talking things on the same level of like the Spear of Destiny.
Dang.
Yeah, or the Ark of the Covenant, like really high end mystical and overpowered objects that should honestly never been in the hands of anybody.
Like
And
the Thanos glove.
exactly, like the kind of stuff that Astra spent eons putting away in her relic room so they would never reach this kind of stuff.
But Tiamat found a few that Astra didn't notice.
Exactly. So they're using these god killer things. There's a point in time where Kara got a little too cocky, and one of the big boss style god killers that are in like this in this weird power armor suit ends up actually slicing Kara's head off.
Oh, dang.
And then Kara, being Kara, who she is, he picks up the head like triumphant and holds it in both of his hands and turns it around and has her face him. Her body lying on the ground actually gets back up, and then the head that he's holding opens her eyes and looks at him, smiles, and blows up in his face in this spectacular form of confetti and blood. And then she just regrows her head nonchalantly, like, and says something to the effect of, "Whew, what a head rush!"
Oh my god!
And he's just kind of scared, and he's like, "Why are you still alive?" And she's like, "Because." And she kind of just rips this off from V for Vendetta, because I'm an idea, Mr. Cheaty, and you can't kill an idea.
I love it.
Yeah. And then she just starts ripping away the armor and eventually kills him by what was it? Something about being smothered with an overly chocolatey giant cake.
Kills him with a cake. What, like from Matilda?
Kinda, but like the size of a football stadium cake.
So she summons a giant cake and it just falls on top of him.
Exactly.
A truly death by chocolate cake.
Absolutely. And then she's starting to really start to see that the god killers might actually be more of a threat than she originally anticipated, and starts going after them a little bit more fervently. More tragedy and happens in her lifetime. Eventually Tiamat thinks, because apparently this was a good idea. Because apparently Tiamat thinks this was a good idea, because obviously killing her mother or any of her loved ones is a fantastic idea.
Oh no.
Has decided that she's going to go after, if she can't hurt Kara directly, she's going to hurt her any other way she can think of. So she immediately sends god killer factions or squads to Japan to seek out and destroy specifically Sujin and Inari. Eventually, they succeed, and Kara catches wind of it at the last second, throws herself into the fight after teleporting from wherever she was, and it's too late. They're both unfortunately lying dead on the ground, but she unceremoniously kills all the god killers that are there. No jokes, no puns, just quick, silent death. And then her red eyes start to glow, and the rage is starting to build again. And then she feels a hand on her shoulder, and it's Amaterasu, and Amaterasu's concerned because she remembers what Kara did in the war. Everybody remembers what she did.
Yeah.
And Amaterasu said, "This was not your fault. This was not because of you. This was because of one person's unrealistic and corrupted ambitions." And she's like, "I know, but I still feel responsible because they were my friends, and I know the person behind this is just doing this to get at me." And she's like, it's still not your fault. Nobody is blaming you, and I would hope that we would not have to see the return of the Mistress of Blood.
Oh, dang.
And Kara looks at her, still gritting her teeth, and calms down slightly, takes a deep breath, and says, "Don't worry, I don't have any intentions of returning to that person if I can help it." And then just disappears to go find Tiamat.
Dang.
To fight Tiamat in what she thinks is going to be the final confrontation, but it's not the final confrontation. So she goes and fights Tiamat. So she goes through, finds the main god killer base, kills them all without even blinking. Doesn't even try to make any jokes or puns, and just annihilates them all. And she approaches, quote unquote, Francesca, and points a finger at her menacingly and says, "This ends with you and I right now." And she's like, "Well, I don't even know what you're talking about." And she's like, "Save it. I know exactly who you are. You're not pulling a trick on me. I know every trick in the book. I even wrote the book." And then just randomly pulls out a book out of her jacket pocket saying, "I wrote this. These are about jokes." And then just tosses it out over her shoulder, and then it explodes for no reason, just because it can. And then Tiamat sheds her disguise, and she's like, "Fine, might as well face the music. I can't say that I'm Francesca anymore. It's obviously too late for that." And she's like, "Nah, you think?" And then the two of them fight, and their fight ends up like on not necessarily a cosmic scale, but every time they throw a punch, it sends shockwaves that can be felt around the world.
Dang.
And she's fighting her and kicking butt for a long time, and then Tiamat starts like insulting her and saying stuff like, maybe if you were more powerful, maybe if you were smarter, then the things around you wouldn't die.
Oh, dang.
And then she's like, "Well, maybe that little fox and the puddle goddess would have still been around." Kara's like, "Just shut up, stop talking." Then Tiamat tries to press it further. It's like, if you were smarter and more powerful, maybe your mother would still be around.
Oh, ooh, that's low.
Which then sets her off, and then you see the same aura and the eyes glowing that we saw millennia ago during the war, and the Mistress of Blood is back.
Oh.
And so she fights Tiamat and the Mistress of Blood, going through the motions, not really fully in control of what she's doing, but making sure that Tiamat feels every blow and every strike and makes sure the blood is spilt. And then they fight, and then she's laying there on the ground, about to lands the final blow, and Kara thinks that that's the end. Unbeknownst to her, Tiamat actually had created a clone.
Oh,
and
no.
that's what she killed.
Dang.
Because in true villain fashion, why would I get my hands dirty when I can just be over there?
Send my clone to die.
Exactly. And so she kills her, thinking that that's the end of it, and calms down, and her mom comes to her in her fit of rage. Her mom comes to her in like a vision in her fit of rage, and telling her, "You don't need to be this anymore. There's not a reason that the Mistress of Blood needs to be a moniker you live with for the rest of your life." So she calms down, refocuses herself, goes with teleports back to Amaterasu. They hold a funeral for the slain goddesses, and Kara has decided to, in respect, wear her traditional Viking armor as her funeral attire, and goes, and they lay them to rest. They go and then Kara just goes back to her normal business. Somehow, some way, the god killers start up again, and she's like, "That's impossible. I just killed the person that started these." So they're going around, still have the same mission to kill Kara. Kara eventually ends up being rinse and repeat for them. And she's like, "I do not know how on this earth you are still alive." And Tiamat's like, "Well, you should have, paid more attention, because what you killed was a clone and not me. So once again, I have the upper hand." And Kara's like, "I don't care how many versions of you I have to kill. I'm going to make sure every single one of them stay buried." Eventually, it starts with they're fighting again. This goes on for on a cosmic level this time, because now Tiamat's using every single ounce of power and strength she has. these ripples are felt across time, space, and it can. It's so powerful that it even alerts Astra to them fighting.
Multi-dimensional.
Yeah, and then Kara starts. Tiamat's still doing the same thing, trying to catch her off her focus, and then Kara, in this final fight, starts leaning towards becoming the mistress of blood again. But then something comes back to her, and her mother's words come back to her in her head, and she remembers, I don't have to live with that moniker for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So in that moment, in her mind, the chaos in her head, the storm clouds in her mind subside, and in the midst of chaos, there is a moment of clarity, which becomes her new form.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, so instead of having her hair, in a blinding light which pushes Tiamat against the wall hard,
Ooh.
Kara takes on a new form. Her hair turns sky blue. Her eyes are now silver. Her black leather jacket is now silver with blue and white flames on it. Her pants become white, and her shoes are now a dark blue color instead of being black.
Ooh.
And instead of the Mistress of Blood, her new form, Clarity, shows up in front of Tiamat.
Oh, that is so badass.
Yeah.
I gotta draw that.
Yeah. And then Tiamat's stunned, and Kara says, This time I'm making sure everything you've ever done stays buried.
Dang.
And so she starts fighting Tiamat. Tiamat's no match. Everything that she's throwing at Kara is deflecting with split-second precision and counterattacks. And she's like, I don't understand how you're this powerful. And Kara's like, well, that's the thing about me. I never stop trying to. I just hang on. What did she say? I forgot what she said.
I do whatever I want whenever I want.
Exactly. She says her catchphrase, and she's like, and that's just one thing you'll never understand. And yet, one thing that always annoyed me about you, Tiamat, you were never any fun.
I love it.
And then they fight. Tiamat eventually shows off her ultimate form, which is the giant dragon form. And Kara sits there staring at her, unfazed. Manifests a glowing blue sword in her right hand and says, well, if I'm going to slay the dragon, I'm going to do it the proper way. And eventually it just rips and tears through Tiamat with her sword. And that is the end of Tiamat officially.
Dang.
And that is the end. And then that is the end of the God Killers. But Kara's story does not end there, because unbeknownst to her, she, between her cosmic fight with Tiamat, alerted somebody else that's even more powerful to fight her. And that's where I end that, because I don't want to give everything away yet.
Oh, shoot, that is so cool.
Yes, and that is Kara.
That was so amazing. Like, wow. She was definitely like someone that was like haunting your brain.
She really was for the longest time. And like I said, I for whatever reason, Kara is like, I've come up with OCs in the past. Mm-hmm. I've had a few hundred that I've made over the years that
hundreds.
Never. Ooh. Well, yeah, I say that, but then they were like quick sketches, and I never did anything with them. Most of them never even had a name.
Oh.
They were just like doodles and stuff that I made where I was in class. But Kara was the one that...
She's the one that like grew a soul.
She's the one that really took on a life of her own, and in a lot of ways, I feel like she's my kid. Like when Stan Lee came up with like Spider-Man, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's how she's perceived to me, and how I made her. But yeah, she's just Kara. She does what she wants when she wants.
That's awesome. Okay, I guess now I'm gonna ask you a couple questions that I've been asking my guests, and so. Sure. If you could go into the world of Kara, what would you do?
I would immediately seek her out and do one of the things that I always wanted to do ever since I made her, and just give her a big hug and tell her how proud I am of her.
And she'd be like, thanks, Dad, because she knows who you are already.
Exactly, yeah.
I love it. Okay, so the second question is like, if money was no object, what would you do to bring Kara's world to life?
Well, so funny that you say that, because I am still in talks with actually having her comic book being made with Image Comics and being a real character with their line.
That's so
Um,
cool.
if it was up to me and if I had my own druthers, I would fund the entire project and comic book myself and bring that into the world myself. But most of the time, I'm broke.
And its art is like really hard, like because I'm making my own stuff, and it takes a lot more energy than you think it does.
It really does, absolutely. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, and I mean, I would be more than willing to put forth the effort. I just do not have the finances.
So you're working with what was the name of the comic group that you're trying to like get
So so
her
Image
time on?
Comics, I'm working with them trying to get this project off the ground. Image Comics is the guys that are responsible for like Spawn, Invincible, the Walking Dead series.
Ooh.
I I really wanted Kara at one point because I'm a huge Marvel fan. First
Mhm.
off, I really wanted Kara to be a Marvel character, but I cannot get on board with Disney owning Marvel. I just can't.
Yeah, it's kind of icky.
Yeah. So my next best options were go through the comic book lines and see who else I really appreciated. Which Image Comics was one of those ones where I really appreciated their comic books and I really appreciated their characters, and I basically figured out with them what kind of form I needed to put it all together, and that their criteria is 5 comic book pages, a cover page, synopsis of what Kara is and what she can do, and villains and all this other stuff. And then if they like it, then I could see a comic book made as early as next month. But this project has been
Ooh.
time consuming. The people I've been having help me work on it, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So it's been delayed quite a bit, but we're still steadily working on it. And that's the thing that I appreciate is that it's still steadily happening. It's not just done. It's just slower than I would like. Yeah, it's just taking longer than expected. It's still a work in progress, which is fine. It's just, as soon as we get it all together, I can submit it, and then they can say yay or nay. And then if they want me to change things, I can change things. But we're getting to that.
So right now you're working with artists and writers to like get like a something to show the company to.
Working with artists, had to working with artists kind of had to fire my writer, unfortunately.
Aw.
um it is what it is, and then I ended up writing the synopsis myself, so we're still on track, so we're good.
That's so exciting. Like I'm just doing my own thing. Like the idea of like having like a team is always that's always something that's fun to imagine about like having a group of people like to do your own studio like that's like a dream right there.
That would be nice if I had the funds. That's exactly where I would have already gone, but
Okay, so like do you have any like uh websites or social medias people can learn more about Kara, or is it just like maybe you can just
there you go. I found it.
okay.
It's called, okay, so it's Kara legacy dot versal dot app, and if I need to, I can spell all that out.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll provide the link in the description box below. So thank you for being on the show today. It was great hearing all about Kara, and I'll be definitely keeping an eye out for uh, her comic when it's out. And this is Lollyfoo signing off, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye.